and you can fly.
Yeah.
Join us up here.
Up in the noodle cloud.
Do I used to fly?
Join us in the noodle cloud.
So when you press G on the bottom left hand of your screen, you should see fly enabled or disabled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see fly enabled.
Yeah,
I
now you
see
can fly.
enabled.
Yeah, flying without wings. There you
And then
go.
just
You have to look up, I think.
Look up.
Look up and then press.
Oh, I need to use my mouse. Oh, I see. I'm on my laptop.
Yeah, it's a bit harder with a trackpad.
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm making it work actually. I'm just not moving too much.
How
Chase, you have a trackpad?
Yeah, I'm also on a trackpad.
How do you do it with the trackpad? I'm trying like 2 fingers, 3 fingers. I'm trying lots of fingers.
One finger, man.
I mean, you can look around with two. One for holding and second for like looking around.
Oh, I see.
There you go.
So if you look up, you will just fly
I'm
up.
going to do it.
Okay, someone's going really far. Orbiting out.
I'm gonna fly around.
Yeah.
Neeraj, you're so far up.
This is awesome.
It's fun, right? Hello, everyone.
Okay, let's find some
Hi,
ramen.
Dan.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you? Still
Wait,
wondering how to fly also.
Oh, you have to press G and then go up.
Yeah, you
But I press G and like my
Are you on a
view
trackpad as well?
changes. Yeah.
You have to look up and
Just
then
hold down and move the trackpad to look in a direction and then look up and fly.
I'm flying.
It's great that you're all on a PC or a laptop because a lot of our community comes in on mobile and they can't do any of this.
Yeah.
Is it harder in mobile?
I was actually going to join from mobile.
I mean, you can if you want to try mobile. No one's stopping you. More fingers though. Oh man, everyone's flying.
Guys, right now I'm in, okay. So I was moving automatically.
Ooh.
I couldn't stop.
Hey, Holly, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me all right?
Nice to see you, Holly. Yeah. I like that avatar. Where'd you get it? Was it part of the...
That's the one they gave me, so yeah.
Actually, Paul, you can upload any GLB.
Oh, I see. Okay.
When you change character, there's a create character option, and you just upload your GLB.
All right. Ooh. Yeah. Thanks for joining, Holly. I'd love to introduce you to everyone. So, yeah, you've done some really great work on the AI and LLM front as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been it's very exciting right now. So it's happening. A lot of the text to video stuff, like 2.1. I don't know if you guys seen all that coming out of Alibaba. That's pretty fun. There's a lot of good open source models right now.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Exciting.
Cool. I guess we can get started in a few minutes. Just looking at who we have in the lobby in the room. Okay.
Hey, you put the screen on the wrong side. I was supposed to sit down.
Oh, yeah.
The
It's on the
sofa.
right side of the-
Oh, yeah.
Bad design, man.
So
Bad design.
you start
Just blame
talking, you
Fancy.
start sitting
Look at that.
here. Yeah.
Look at panel, like everyone who's talking like
Oh, that's true. We have to look back. Okay, I guess load while watching.
Yeah, that's still fancy. Like, he made a mistake. Rookie mistake. But maybe, we'll start in a few minutes. I'll start some introductions and then, yeah, just get on with it. But thank you all for joining. It's nice to see friends here, just looking around. And of course, the OP Games team, Sam, Jason.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, quite a few, I see.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so just find a nice space where you can hear me talk, and then I'll go over the slides, and then I'll get started. Is Neeraj? We still have Neeraj.
Yeah, I'm behind you, Paul. Above and
Okay.
behind.
It's fun. I feel like in the space, like I'm getting stage fright because I see people looking at me. But cool, yeah. Let's begin. So today is like the first NPC Friday. The hope is for us to do this every week and just get folks building with AI. And I think vibe coding is having a moment, and so we're gonna start with that. But this is more than just vibe coding. The plan is to get game developers who are interested in AI to just vibe together, to discuss what they're working on, and to build great games. And so today we'll have two talks before we probably open up the space for people who want to network. The first is Vibe Coding 101. So if you're new in vibe coding, want to know how to do it well, then I'll share my experience and also some tools I use to do that. And then next we'll have Neeraj present, which is the first MCP game, which is super exciting. So I'm happy that Neeraj joined us today, which is called Two
So
Truths.
it was completely vibe coded. So
Oh yeah, there you go. It's called Two Truths and a Twist. And maybe later in Neeraj, like, you can also share your screen. This should be pretty simple to just put it up there. Yeah. Cool. Okay, let's get started. Give a sec. Let me just find the tab with the presentation. All right. Yeah. So a little bit on NPC Friday. It's inspired in parts by two events that I have participated and have been part of. One is NPC Day, which was started by the Future Primitive folks, and something that we've just pushed further and further along. It started in New York. We've done this in Denver, in Istanbul, in London, in Bangkok, and it's also influenced largely by an accelerator I'm part of called Kernel. So some of the Kernel folks are here, Holly, Andrej as well, and I've learned a lot of, I guess, ways to get people communicating and just collaborating in kernel. And I found that like it helps to focus on some principles, right? One is this space is mostly to make friends, and this is something I found that helps a lot. Like in kernel, people hang out because we genuinely like each other. It's not like a presentation for selling something, right? It's for some a place for us to share knowledge, to be inspired, and most of all to have fun. I think with us being in games, that's something we sometimes forget. Like I have some game developer friends who haven't played games in a while, which is pretty sad, right? Like we're in a space where we want to play games, great games, but you haven't played a game in so long. So hopefully we keep that spirit alive as we go through this presentation. Okay, and I'll get right to it. So it's Vibe Coding 101. What is vibe coding? And I'm gonna start, I guess, going through three parts during the presentation. What the first one is mental models for vibe coding. And then I'll discuss some tools that I use to vibe code. And then lastly, just thinking about how we can possibly build together, right?
I really like your pronouns, Gremlin. That's a cool. That's cool.
Super handy.
Few seconds. I'm just sharing the links. And I'm posting it on chat. Here you go. So if anyone isn't able to see the screen, just go through that presentation. Oop. I think we lost Holly.
She's gonna rejoin. She just restarted to see if she
Okay.
it'll fix the screen. But this is great. Now I know our product doesn't really work in Linux.
You're getting us up. A
Actually, I
lot
can
of
see
QA.
it now.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I refreshed and rejoined.
Needed, like-
I got it, so.
You get to turn it on and off again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hit
Alright.
my computer a couple times, yeah. Look at that.
Okay, so going back, we're like talking about vibe coding, right? So what is vibe coding? And it started when Andrej Karpathy was just tweeting out of with how he was using LLMs. And he says there's a new kind of coding I call vibe coding, where you're fully given to the vibes, embrace exponentials and forget that the code even exists. So it's a pretty long tweet, but this tweet kind of started off all of this craziness around vibe coding. And I'm sure if you guys have been on crypto Twitter, right, like everyone's vibe coding these games. So I one shot this game, right? Like I just put in this prompt, maybe a Flappy Bird game, and it made it in one shot, and everyone just started making content out of that. And now my Twitter feed algorithm is just mostly a lot of these, especially during that time when it was just coming out with the Vibe Jam. So yeah, games they just got one shotted, right? And with this, I guess, new way of making games, it helps to kind of ground ourselves a little bit on what kind of or on how we should be making these games. Because honestly, if you start looking more deeply into like these vibe coded games, a lot of them don't reach the finish line, right? Like a lot of them are just tech demos, and I would say like it's good to approach this from this more foundational space on how you should really be vibe coding games. And so I started thinking about what mental models we need to be using when we're doing vibe code, when we're starting to vibe code, right? And so I guess a little bit on mental models and what they are. They're ways of understanding the world. Some terms that I like particularly also are tools for thought or cognition tools, mostly like things that we see that allows us to more understand things that are happening just generally and how we should be thinking about things that we're working on. So in games, for example, when social networks were starting out and games were changing because of that, we saw a lot of new artifacts, new diagrams that informed how games were made. So the funnel in the pyramid, right? Like we've seen games start moving towards a more marketing related language. And then we see things like core loops. So now games are designed with core loops. It's all about consuming and earning a resource. And we get all of these terms like DAU, daily active users, day one, day 7, day 30, retention. And the term called retention leads to monetization. So the mental model for creating games during the time of social networks was this, right? And you see that inform a lot of the games on mobile. And I would say mental models aren't just these diagrams, right? Like it's a lot of the things that we see around us that change how we see the world. So quotes and poems, I think, are also very, very powerful. Like this one I just recently read, like from Antonio Gramsci, that he said that the old world is dying and the new world struggles to be born. Now is the time of monsters, which I felt was like very, very apt to what's happening right now. And memes as well, I think, is sort of a mental model, right? Like it gets into your brain because they're just so specific and they just are most of the time so funny that you can't help but remember them. So this one is like a funny video on vibe coding, like professional vibe coding on X, and and I found it really funny because he says here, like he's a professional vibe coder, and they were asked, "Are we caching the data?" Oh yeah, I'm caching in hard on it. Yeah, so it's like just how vibe coding is. It's just I guess a form of engagement, and just this I think informed a lot of people's ideas on what vibe coding is, right? Whether it's really like that or not, right? But it's something that sticks to your brain. And yeah, so I want to also share one of my favorite mental models, which is the rule of three, and it's that I guess it's kind of the truth that you must usually remember concepts better when they're grouped in threes. So I was in London and I would hear this all the time, like see it, say it, sorted, and that just really struck to your brain. And then I put a little footnote there about how about AI, right? Does AI think in these terms as well? So this is like a whole another presentation I think that we could kind of talk about, like how does AI think in terms of mental models, or does it even use mental models? All right, so with that out of the way, like this is a vibe coding mental model that I have been thinking of, and I think is a good way to think of how we should navigate vibe coding, right? It's just 3 points: adapt, plan, and break the rules. And I'll talk about each of one in turn. So the first is adapt, right? So again, we're in a new world. A new world is struggling to be born, and monsters are like emerging, right? And I feel like we have been in this space before. Like I remember back in 10 years ago, right? Uh, there was this UK mention called Unity, and developers were saying like this isn't how you should be making games, right? And there were posts even here in the Unity forums that say that I love Unity, I really do, but I'm wondering, is it hurting programmers who use it? Uh, I can say I can just do about anything inside of the program, but transferring that knowledge to proper software development is difficult, right? So they had concerns on whether Unity was dumbing down game development. And I think we're in a very, very similar space now, right? Like wherein people are talking about vibe coding, and and I agree that like a lot of the nuance, a lot of the depth of game programming can be lost. But one thing also is I feel like it's a time where we should start thinking of these new tools, right, and how they can change the industry. And I think there was this watershed moment for Unity, wherein there was this game that came out that people were surprised that you could actually make a great game out of Unity. And that game was Hearthstone by Blizzard. And at this moment, I felt like that was kind of the moment where people knew that this was an actual game development tool that they can use. And my sense is there's going to be a moment for a vibe coding where this happens. And maybe this is another mental model for everyone, right? Like, how can we make like the Hearthstone moment for vibe coding? And one thing I do also want to mention is history doesn't repeat itself, right? But it often rhymes. So this has happened before. Games changed due to technology. And one way to look at vibe coding is it's just the evolving machine interfaces, right? We used to make apps in assembly, then programming, then now Unity allowed us to just drag and drop stuff. And now we've moved on to natural language where you can just vibe code, you can just chat, you can just even use your voice to create apps. And and so this is another cycle of technology. But again, some things are new, right? Like the cultural and societal context and the pace of change in particular is something I did want to mention, because AI has really changed the pace of development. And so that it's not the same thing as what Unity has done, but probably will be much, much faster. Okay, a few more recommendations on how to adapt. Always keep track of the developments, at least with the frontier models like OpenAI, Anthropic, Grok, Gemini, Mistral, all of these other ones. I take a look at Hugging Face all the time to see if there are models and things you can play around with. Also, be nimble with your workflow and evaluate your tools at least once a week, I think, because just yesterday, I think Firebase Studio just came out. Taskmaster AI, which I'll talk about in a little bit, is something I just found out about a few days ago, and yeah, so everything is changing so fast. But also simplify your workflow and not rely on too many models, right? Like most of the time, these models or these tools that we'll see are just wrappers around these models or LoRa's. And it's usually cheaper if you interact with the models directly rather than paying for like something on top of them. And lastly, everything is connected, right? Like for example, you can create something in ChatGPT, pass it to Hunyuan and make it 3D, and then just make some tools to make these easier, right? So don't be limited to using just one tool. Think in terms of input and output and create your workflows accordingly. Okay, so just as a practical example, I created a game, sorry, during the Vibe Jam, and these are the tools that I used. I tried to create a game called Bird Flu Simulator, which was actually a game by that was imagined by the Kashyap folks. And I thought, how could we make this game as fast as we can, right, using the tools that we have? And so I used Cursor with Gemini Pro. I started out with Claude 3.7, and then Gemini Pro, I think, came out during that time. So I had to change there because I found it better. And then the Studio Ghibli stuff started coming in from ChatGPT because of the new the new image generation, right? So I used that to create icons, remove transparency from icons. I used Hunyuan 3D to create these 3D models of the chickens that you can see there. And then to deploy the app, I used generally just Replit. I don't use Replit as much like as all the AI stuff on there, but to deploy it very easily, I just use that. Okay, so that was the adapt part, and the next part is to plan. So I think this is relevant not just for players or for developers, but also for AI, right? I think one of the main things that has led to these AI models becoming more and more efficient is they started using the React framework, right? Like instead of just answering immediately when you ask it something, it starts to think of what you want it to do first. So it goes through several iterations before it does something. And I think that doesn't apply just with AI, but us as well. Like before you start typing a prompt and submitting it to the AI, it's best to kind of plan what you want to do. Like the screenshot here to the lower left is cursor. And what I usually do is I just start putting down notes on what I want to do. So I make screenshots, I make mockups, and I use that to kind of inform what I need the AI to do eventually. One process for this, I think, is to start with very lo-fi designs, and this prevents you from prevents the AI rather from over engineering what you want to do. For example, if you ask it to make me a 3D game where maybe a 3D RTS game, right? So there's a lot of complexity there. So it will really over-engineer that. It will try to build a lot of stuff there. So I think one good mental model here is to think of board game design first. This screenshot on the lower left is a game called Tank Turn Tactics, I think, this is in the video by the People Make Games folks, where this game was so good that people had to ban it from the office, right? People was playing it too much. And there's a lot of great games that come out of just board game design, right? One of my favorite ones is Darkest Dungeon. So this is one of my favorite games. You can really feel the board game design here as well. But also even mobile games, right? Like Marvel Snap, I think it's one of the most popular games on mobile right now. And it actually was designed with a very iterative process, but also with the mechanic of backgammon, I think, where you double something using the doubling cube, which was the main thing of Marvel Snap. So yeah, board game design first, I think, is a good mental model. And I mentioned Taskmaster AI as well. So I haven't used this one in particular. Like my sense also is I guess it's a bit more restrictive, right? Because it's not vibe coding in the sense that you're like vibing with the code. But what it does is it breaks down your prompts. It creates cursor rules that allows you to that allows each of your prompts to kind of be broken down. And so if you want to make a game, then it'll just break down the tasks, and then it will make the AI one shot all of this because it knows which tasks it need to make. But it will take a much longer time though. So I guess it depends on your use case on what you want the AI to do. In my case, like the planning process that I usually go through is first I create a design doc. In the case of this bird flu simulator, I took screenshots of the video. I put them on an Excalibur, and then I kind of start breaking that down on what kind of game I want to create. I start with just simple game design instructions, like just the movement, the screen elements. I remove a lot of things that don't need to be there yet, like style, for example, or story that can come in later. And instead of breaking it down in tasks like with the Taskmaster AI, I just start with a template, and I think that helps a lot with not over engineering and having a good foundation. So in my case, I use Phaser. I use Enable 3D for the 3JS, the 3D support. And then I just started by one-shotting the first screen. Like in this case, it's just this screen, which is the first-person part of the game. And then I just continuously iterate by prompting the AI and just try to break that down into smaller parts. All right. And so those are the two things. So adapt and plan. And for the last part is to break the rules. I think this is very important, especially now in this time where a lot of game designs I see on vibe coding are mostly the same games that we see, right? Like there's nothing very interesting with making games that are one-shotted from games that are already there. These games won't be played by folks that are interested in vibe coding, and we won't excite the folks that we want to bring in. So one great example I saw of someone just really breaking the rules, right, is Jacob Collier. So this is one of the musicians that I particularly like. Uh, and one quote that is attributed to him is there's no wrong note, right? You just lack confidence in playing that note, which is I think a good way to look at how to be making games. Right? There's no rules, so you need to like figure out new things on your own. And having said that, though, like there are the strengths of the technology that we need to be mindful of to make the great games that we are hoping to see out in the world. One is this natural language interface, right? That's the strength of, uh, of just AI and LLMs. The randomness also is something we need to embrace. Like sometimes people build workflows to make like perfect things, right? But that's not what AI is strong at yet. Uh, we make it's used to be able to make quick workflows, and it's also allows people to make user generated content really quickly, right? So these are just some of the strengths. So maybe we can create designs around these strengths. Another is to understand the fundamentals of game design, like psychology, game design, virtual economies, marketing, right? All of these contribute to making a great game. But once you know all these rules, right, then that's when you can break them. Like absurdity, I think, is what we need to embrace. And that's something that I found like good games really do, right? Or games that break the mold are the ones that ask stupid questions and just really try to make games out of that. So in our case, like to bring it a little bit back to Pod Noodle Dev and what we're trying to do with Nudes, our thesis is that we can make really, really great game designs by embracing this process of humans and game developer ages making these games together, and and we need to like just accelerate ways on how to do that, right? Because these are some of the example games that I myself have found to have embraced absurdity, like Vampire Survivors. The core concept there is, what if I wasn't like the one uh, the one avoiding the bullets, but I'm the one creating the bullets, like to be the bullet hell, and that became Vampire Survivor, which led to all of these other roguelites. There was this game called PUBG, right? Like the developer wasn't actually a game developer. He was from the outside of game development. Like he was a modder, I think. And the idea was, can we fit 100 players in a game? And that led to Fortnite, which led to the Battle Royale genre. And of course, like Minecraft, which was inspired by Infiniminer, which is like exploring the question of, can we make games that have infinite worlds on them? And of course, we all know like Minecraft spawned so many of these survival games, from V Rising um, to so many others, right? So these games started out from absurdity and just spawned a whole new genre. And yeah, and I wanted to end with like these are just models, right? Everyone can just chart their own path. Like mental models are just that. They simplify our understanding of the world, but the world is nuanced and complicated. That in fact, even mathematical models fail, right? Like to a point. And and maybe board games, which are reference points, and even video games themselves might be anachronistic references, meaning like they may be too old-fashioned, right? Like what kind of games can we play now that is here, now that the interfaces are different? And maybe it's worth exploring and just being absurd about that. And some games just come out of our own unique explorations as well, right? Like Balatro, which was the game of the year for a lot of awards last year, just came out of just someone exploring his own passion and was making it in his spare time over 3 years. And this game just I feel Balatro itself is starting its own genre, right? You see a lot of games trying to copy this this mechanic of a roguelike and card game, and and yeah, and it became its own thing. And I feel like just exploring what we can do with AI, we can find that the Balatro or the Minecraft or the Hearthstone of vibe coding or AI, right? That can lead people to create new exciting games out of this new medium. Okay, and just to circle everything back, right? Like another mental model is if you repeat things enough, then it just sticks to your brain. So again, the 3 points are first to adapt. The world is changing, and we need to like really be mindful of how we navigate that. Next is to plan, not just on your end, but also on the LLM's end. Like planning really leads to much better results. And then lastly is to break the rules, right? Like now that you know all of the strengths of the medium and you know like first principles, then just be absurd with it, because a lot of the great things, a lot of the things that last came from things that are very different, that embrace the absurdity of what they're trying to do. All right, and that was it. So thank you guys for listening. I think we have some time for a few questions before we move on to Neeraj's presentation. So, thank you. I hope you guys appreciate it.
Yeah, that was great, man.
Thank you. Nice, nice. Any questions from anyone before
Here's a
we?
clap for you.
Oh, thank you. Yay. Oh, that's a lot. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Okay, so I guess Neeraj, well, I'll do an intro for Neeraj. Like, Neeraj, you can try casting your screen, so I'll stop casting mine.
Cool. Okay, there we go. So this is a game that I developed together. So the game design was done by ChatGPT and me, and then the game implementation was done by Claude through Claude Code and Cursor and me. And it was inspired by the NPC day that Paul held at DevCon last November. At that NPC day, Paul did a game jam where the prompt in the game jam was build a game that would be fun for super intelligent AI to play. And that's sort of like, it's gotten stuck in my head ever since. And every now and then I'll just like have a discussion with ChatGPT about games and like what kind of games it would be interested in. It says that it doesn't really enjoy things, but we just keep on having this conversation. And sometimes I'll just have it create games. I'll say, hey, why don't we play a game together? And most of the games that it makes they suck. But one day, we were doing this, and it gave me this game called Two Truths and a Twist, where basically the concept is it gives me 3 pieces of trivia, out of which 2 are factual and 1 isn't factual, and I have to guess which one isn't a fact, which one is a twist on the truth, and that's the game. And we played it a little bit, and I found that like I wanted to keep on going back and playing it because it was teaching me so many things. And so I was like, ChatGPT, this is something that we should turn into a real game. And it said, yeah, that's a great idea because that's what it always says. And so then we wrote the game design doc, and then I went to Claude and said, hey, let's implement this game. And about 3 hours later, we had like the game implemented, and it's on GitHub. I think Paul put the link to the game on GitHub. If you guys are using MCP servers, then it's actually pretty easy and fun to play. And I play this game quite frequently, and I had like my early group of people that I asked for feedback. It didn't stick with most of them, but it actually did stick with one of their kids, and so that kid plays this game. It's teaching him it's testing him on Pokemon trivia like multiple times a day at this point. So that's sort of the story of this game. But in that process, I think I maybe mentioned a few terms that I'm not sure how familiar everyone here is with. For example, are you guys familiar with MCP servers? Is anybody using MCP servers every day?
I am.
Holly, you are?
Yeah.
And anyone else? Dan is trying. So this is like a relatively new thing, and I don't know how, it feels like when I'm talking to certain groups of people, like this is like, they're sort of like they're being oversaturated. Like, they're just being bombarded with mentions of MCP servers like all day, every day. And then I talk to other people and it feels like they just don't, like, they're not being, like, this is an idea that they're not super familiar with. So it's hard to tell, like, how evenly distributed the idea of MCP servers is across people who write code or people who build games or people who use AI. But I feel as if the distribution is pretty uneven. It reminds me of, there's this quote by William Gibson. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. He says, "The future is here. It just isn't evenly distributed." So it feels like the same thing applies to MCP servers. I don't know, Holly and Dan, if you guys agree that this is the future, but it feels like it to me. Yeah, the Blender
one. Yeah.
is the most impressive one for sure.
Well, I'll cop to it. Like, I'd love a brief explanation.
Okay. Yeah. What's your name, Orange Intern? Is it just Orange Intern, or should I call you something else?
It's Phil. It's Phil.
Oh, Phil. Okay, Phil. I think it's perfectly reasonable. There's no shame in it. The space is moving so fast. Like, it's better to just ask. Nobody's going to judge you for it, right? So basically, an MCP server, it's like a fancy name for an API that your AI model understands how to use. Okay, it's basically a specification that was created by Anthropic, that basically defines a format in which you can present tools to your AI models to use. That the Anthropic models started out with Claude Desktop and Claude Code supporting. So basically, like, Claude Desktop and Claude Code were the first sort of like AI products that understood how to communicate the model context protocol and use tools that were exposing themselves through MCP. And there were other, OpenAI had their agents API. Like, there were a bunch of things that existed before MCP that sort of did the same thing, that made tools available for AI to use. LangChain had its own thing. There was Auto GPT that had their own thing. But MCP is the thing that everyone seems to have sort of like agreed on, right? Because OpenAI announced that they would be supporting MCP. They already support MCP in their agents SDK, and they're going to be adding support for MCP into ChatGPT Desktop. Cursor supports MCP, Windsurf supports MCP. So model context protocol is just the thing that everyone has sort of like, it's become standardized. And there's so much power in something being standardized because now, like, you can just go and download MCP tools that others have built and start using them with your models. Although I would advise against it because that's a security risk. More importantly, you can teach your, coding assistants to write your own MCP servers, and you can make Cursor and Claude Code and Claude Desktop and eventually ChatGPT Desktop actually do things, actually act on your behalf against external systems which you couldn't do before, right? For me it was like a huge, I've been using ChatGPT to write code for almost since I started using ChatGPT because it was so much better than GitHub Copilot. But then when Cursor launched, I actually found myself going to Cursor because I didn't have to copy paste code onto my file system anymore. Cursor in agent mode just did that for me. Or Cursor, even in ask mode, it would generate diffs and you could apply the diffs, right? It lowered the friction to actually like make code changes from ChatGPT. And that was such a big deal. MCP is basically that, but not just with code on your file system. It's that, but with any other system that you can act against, like with your email, with your bank account. You could make an MCP server for anything. So that's the idea of MCP. It's just an API through which agents that support the model context protocol, AI models that support the model context protocol, can act on your behalf through those APIs. I hope that was.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you.
And it's pretty early, it's still pretty rough. When MCP first launched, you could only host MCP servers locally, which use standard STD in and STD out to interact with the MCP tools. And then a couple of weeks ago, they came up with a spec for what it looks like for to use HTTP as a transport for MCP servers. Right now, people are trying to figure out like what authentication should look like for MCP servers, and how do you authorize MCP servers with protection to act on your behalf against like really critical tools like your bank account, right? So the whole space is evolving like pretty fast, and it's really exciting the amount of activity there is around it. So I highly recommend looking it up. It's github.com/model context protocol, and they have like a discussion, GitHub discussion sort of. The community does everything there. It's really, really cool, and it's pretty early, so it's an exciting time to be there because it feels like you can have a lot of impact and shape things. And you know what? Yeah, thanks, Paul. And like importantly, like the reason that when most people are developing games with AI, they're not developing games that look like this. Let's play a round of two truths and a twist. And is anybody would anybody from the audience like to play a game? Like to play a game of two truths and a twist? And it can be about anything you're interested in. Like Holly, if you're really interested in like Linux distributions, it can be about that.
I use your repo for a thing in building kernel. Actually, I am trying to make sort of a boarding for growth metrics to people that are building products. And what I did was run two truths and a twist based on product strategy questions, and I showed it to a group and was like pretty engaging with them. So
it was okay. That's pretty cool. Oh, what happened to this thing? Oh, sorry. That's actually awesome. I don't know who was talking because I couldn't see who was talking.
Up here. It's right above you.
That's awesome. What kind of questions did you ask? Do you want to play? Do you want to play a live game?
yeah, of course.
Okay, let's try one. Well, so let's play a game. So Dan is going to play a game with you. What category would you like?
I was saying something I'm good at, but maybe music.
What kind of music, Dan?
Music history or music in general. I think I might know.
Music history. Do you want it to go and educate itself about music history before it plays with you?
How is that? I didn't know.
I just tell it about music history.
What does it do there, Neeraj? Does it go search the web for that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
One trick I learned from one of my early users was he actually asked Claude to please generate a nice UI, right? In which I can display the round. Doesn't need to be functional. Should make the question look nice. Okay. Cool. So first it'll go out and it'll do a search so that it can educate itself about music history, and then it'll create a round for you. And so first it's going to the two truths and a twist MCP server to create some questions, and now it's generating a UI that it'll ask you the questions inside. This is a trick that one of the early users actually came up with. I didn't even think about this because I've just been playing in the terminal where when it asks me a question, it looks like this. It just. But Dan, here you go. So and everyone can play along, right? So which of these facts about the Romantic era in music history has a twist? The first one is during the Romantic period, 1820 to 1910, composers like Franz Liszt were considered the rock stars of their day, with fans traveling great distances to hear them perform. The second one, Ludwig van Beethoven's Symphony No. 9 is considered a pioneering work of the early Romantic era, featuring unprecedented use of choir in a symphony. And number 3, the Romantic era began when composers collectively agreed to abandon classical forms during the Great Composers Convention of 1820 in Vienna, where they signed the Romantic Music Manifesto. So, which one do you think is actual? And which
I will totally guess, and I will go with 1.
You think 1 is the twist?
Yeah.
What do the rest of you think? Any disagreement? Any backseat drivers here?
I've never heard of a romantic music manifesto. I'd be surprised if that were
I think
If I should guess, I would pick
I think
three.
number 3 is the
Third one.
Three.
And
Let's
the
go.
fourth one.
Okay. Do we say 1? So this is all the MCP protocol stuff. And actually, so 1 was true, 2 was true, and 3.
Yeah, we got it. Also, tell us, Neeraj, about the entropy stuff. That was super interesting. Also,
I'm going to describe that. So,
yeah.
3 was the twist in this case, Dan. And so, the game design here, like, when I was thinking about it, the reason that, like, I was so excited about MCP, and the reason that I didn't try to make a game that looks like Levels.io. So a lot of people, when you see them creating games with AI, they're creating the kinds of games that humans would have created, but they're creating them faster. And for me, the design goal, just in talking to ChatGPT, is what kind of a game requires AI to exist, right? And this is the kind of game where I can't imagine a human being actually, acting as a game master for this game. Because, even if you took someone who was really good at trivia, like Ken Jennings, right? Like the Jeopardy, like mega champion, the guy who's running, he's the host for Jeopardy right now. He couldn't go out and create like pretty compelling trivia questions about any topic as quickly as the AI model is doing right now. And even more importantly, like this doesn't have to be in English, right? The beauty of all of this is like let's say that you didn't speak English. Let's say that you wanted to have this in like Swahili, or if you wanted to have this in Hindi. I've tested this with Hindi, right? Or if you wanted to have this like, you could actually play this game in any language. There's no barrier to actually playing the game that like that would exist in the way that we traditionally build games. So for me, the reason that I'm excited about MCP and about AI is because of like and what I'm exploring in my game designs is what ideas do these things enable? What kind of games do these things allow us to build that couldn't have been built before? And this is so exciting because right now, Claude can't create a UI that actually interacts with the MCP server, but one day it will be able to, right? Right now, Claude isn't really good at generating images, but one day it'll be able to generate images that represent what's going on in the game. It'll be able to generate audio about what's going on in the game. So the whole thing about MCP and like why I think the future is already here and it just isn't really evenly distributed yet is because ultimately I see apps like Claude and ChatGPT, the Claude desktop and ChatGPT desktop, and like all of these applications through which we just do our like day-to-day interaction with AIs. I see them becoming application platforms, and ultimately like all we won't even have to like do all of the artwork and and sound work and UI work that goes in. Yeah, exactly, Holly. We could even like try to connect this to Blender and have it actually generate today, right? Like the game scene. We won't have to do any of that production work that goes into building a complete game. I see that like there's a potential that like all we'll have to do is be like pretty precise and consistent in our description of how the game works and give it to these models, and people will be able to have like really compelling game experiences on these apps like the ChatGPT desktop and Claude desktop and so forth as the application platform and as the game platform. And that's really exciting to me because it just completely changes the modality of creating this kind of content, and it makes it so much more accessible. So that's sort of like that's what blew me away about this whole thing, and I do plan to develop more games, like just sort of as a hobby with this, because I've been having a lot of fun with Two Truths and a Twist, and I would have more fun with like Dungeons and Dragons style games, that kind of stuff, where I really see the value of MCP servers. So that's sort of like my overview of like my explorations with AI and MCP and games. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them at this point. And if not, then I can just share something interesting about like interesting that I found about entropy with these models, about random number generation with models that I still haven't. Okay,
Share the entropy stuff. That's super interesting.
So if you notice, Dan, in the question that you generated, the twist was like the trivia item number 3, right? What I noticed is, and this is consistent across both ChatGPT and Claude and Cursor, which is using Claude anyway on the back end. I use Cursor with Claude 3.7 Sonnet. Is that actually I can show you. So show me my score. So on this machine, I've played 59 rounds of 2 truths and a twist, and you can see the distribution of the twist placements. So out of all the times that I played two truths and a twist, and I actually answered the question, the twist has been in position 3 32 times, position 2 19 times, and it's been in position 1 only 1 time. So there's like a pretty great balance in where it puts the twist. It's really biased towards putting the twist in position 3, and this is behavior that I noticed across like both ChatGPT, GPT-4o, and Claude 3.7 Sonnet, and this really bears some investigation. So this is interesting in 2 ways, because first is, how do you actually get the model to be more fair about how it uses the random? How do you get it to be like how do you get it to be like actually uniformly distributed over the 3 options? That's an engineering problem, and that's very interesting. But I think the more interesting problem is like just sort of, why is this happening? So my current hypothesis is that the reason that this is happening is because the game is called 2 truths and a twist, and the name implies an order of like where the twist goes. So the next experiment I want to run is, what if I create like 2 other MCP servers in which it's called like a twist and 2 truths, or a truth, a twist, and then a truth again. Will that actually affect the distributions? That's one experiment that I want to run. And then I've just also been experimenting with different ways of like actually getting it to give like the correct entropy without revealing the answer easily to the user. That's which is more of, I think, a cryptographic problem. But it's a cryptographic problem that's sort of made more difficult because the model has no secrets from its users. So that's or truths and twists right then. So that's the interesting thing about entropy that I could have mentioned. But yeah. You can tell it to spread it more randomly, Ender, but it doesn't really know what that means. And even if you do tell it to spread it out more randomly, it still maintains that bias because it sort of forgets that directive. Which is why in the MCP server, I actually put like a get entropy, like a generate entropy method into the MCP server. But even with that, I think I was trying to be too clever about how I did it, and it doesn't generate very randomly. It doesn't know how to treat it well. So that bias still exists. And you can really ask it about any topic. Like, I don't know, if somebody here is interested in something really obscure, we can play a round of this, and it'll ask you like really meaningful questions about like super obscure topics. I used to be a mathematician, and I had it like ask me math trivia, and it asked me like some pretty deep math trivia. Actually, it's really good. This two truths and a twist. The AI is really good at generating these questions.
That's super interesting. Let's play one more round, Neeraj. Like if you ask someone else to,
Hey,
someone else.
Neeraj, can you make it about Funko Pop? Let's see if Lala here can answer it.
That marble field, is that Rich?
Oh, sorry. What?
Who's playing?
Lala's gonna play, and the topic is Funko Pop.
Okay.
Had to dox me on that, huh?
Is it Funko Pop like this?
Yeah. Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
Oh, Lord.
Do you want it to do research beforehand, or do you want it to just like raw dog it?
Let's raw dog. Let's see what happens. Because, yeah. I mean, it's a collectible. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Okay. Make it fun. Oh, it's actually doing a search. It decided that it wanted to do a search.
It's like, no, I don't want to listen to you.
Yeah.
I know what I want to do.
We had a discussion last Wednesday on making tests, Neeraj, for AI. And sometimes they say they have experiences where sometimes it just writes tests or it just tries to break the test in some way. So this AI can be like really sneaky at times. Right?
Scary.
It's generating like a full UI for you. Okay, there we go. Funko Pop challenge. So
Okay, that's colorful as hell.
Oh, I like, even the UI is appropriate.
Yeah.
Lord.
Which of these Funko facts has a twist? The first one, when Funko made Pops for The Mummy, 2017 movie starring Tom Cruise, his character's figures were designed but never released because Cruise reportedly didn't want to be merchandised.
Yes.
Number two, Funko's design process is remarkably efficient. They can take a product from initial concept to store shelves in just 70 days. And number three, each Funko Pop comes with a unique digital Pop DNA code that collectors can scan to verify authenticity and add to their virtual collection in the Funko app. Which statement contains the twist? Make your guess.
2. I think it's 2.
All right, so the UI, it looks functional, but it's not functional. So we still put the type 2 into pause. Okay, so let's see what it says. But actually, that website looks beautiful for this Funko Pop.
So poppy color, yeah.
Actually, 2 is true. 3 was the twist. There's no Pop DNA code. Yeah.
Come on, Lala.
What? I buy the thing. Does not mean I need to know about it.
Well, you never use Pop DNA, right?
Yeah, because like I don't.
You would know.
No, it's like
You,
I
you
don't.
should know about a QR code.
No, but I don't want to know how much I spend. They don't need to know that. I don't want to track. It'll show addiction. Okay, no.
True. I feel the same when I look at my Steam account.
Let's not go to the Steam account conversation.
You know, I just came out of the so this week in Mountain View, close to where I live, there was this internet identity workshop. Are you guys familiar with the internet identity workshop?
No.
I wasn't familiar with it either, but actually it's where a lot of work gets done. So it's where the OpenID Connect standard was created and the WebAuthn standard was created. So these are people who are like really serious about like identity and authentication and like privacy and how they pertain to web standards. It was a really interesting workshop because it was like a total. It was an unconference, and it was the first unconference that I've been to that was actually productive. And they do something like that, where they basically have like the conference proceedings are all they're all like sort of crowdsourced at the conference. I think that kind of thing could work really well for that Fridays or in general for like live jams or this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, let's check it out and then but let's collect all of these. All right. What else? Oh, maybe I did want to, Holly. I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but I know you've also been doing a lot of great stuff on MCPs and AI in general. Is there anything you wanted to add before we kind of open the space up for networking?
Not too much, but I think, when you're thinking about MCPs, I think you should also think about some of these decentralized ways of running models. And so that's what really opens up all these possibilities is to be able to create your own image model and to be able to, to connect it up with an MCP as an MPC server and be able to get that model running. And so you could use it kind of in a decentralized AI format. Like right now I'm working for LilyPad Tech. And so what we do is people who have spare GPUs, they basically get on LilyPad and then they can run, you can create a model and run it on people's GPUs. So that's really where the cool stuff starts happening. So you're not just forced to work with Claude or ChatGPT, or you can start using text to video and image to video models and create some cool stuff out there. So yeah, it's super exciting right now.
Yeah, I'd love for you to, Holly, to maybe join maybe do a presentation next time. No pressure, right? But
Okay, all right, we'll talk about it, yeah,
let's talk about it. Yeah,
how regular are you planning on doing this meeting?
I'm hoping every Friday. So maybe next Friday. One of my plans also is to get Phaser to talk about what they're doing on AI, like a bit of alpha that they're leaning pretty hard on AI as well. Phaser is a game engine, so I want them to also present what they're working on. But yeah, but in any Friday, Holly, wherever you're free, let's just chat offline, I guess.
All right, sounds good, Paul.
Yeah, thank you for hopping in. Cool. Okay. I guess we can open up the space. I want to thank everyone for joining. Thank you, Neeraj. Like it was great to have you as the first presenter here on MPC Friday. I think it's really opened up everyone's minds on what can be done with AI games, and the hope is we just keep pushing on this and get good games. I think my hope on my end is I want to find that hard stone for AI vibe coded games, right? And hopefully have it be in this space. And it will only come if we just be absurd, right? Get out of the same kind of games that we're making and just try to create new games that can only be done with the new modalities, with the new affordances that the technologies we're working on have. And just, I guess, also my more selfish hope is I feel like there's a lot of but the focus of games has been less on building actual connections, but more on attention. And so I want to thank Phil also for providing us this space to really just hang with friends. Right? I feel it's a better space to do that than all the Slack channels, for example, that we just keep working on. So
I actually quite enjoyed this space, this orange space. It was pretty cool.
yeah. So maybe we can do it next time also for the other Fridays.
Thanks for trusting us and holding it here.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Yeah, and if anyone wants to chat with anyone here, we can just keep the space open until everyone leaves. So I'll stay here if anyone wants to just hang out. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Paul, for organizing.
Thank you,
Really
Andre.
great.
Yeah. If anyone wants to like chat game dev JS, also Andre is a great person.
Yeah, and there's the jam is happening literally 2 days from now, and we do have the challenge of vibe coding games. So yeah, if anyone wants to try this, we also have a more or less vibe coding game jam happening.
Yeah, I'll send the link here.
Yeah. So Paul, do you think that Levels.io has been that Hearthstone experience for vibe coding game?
Well, I don't know. I don't think so. Honestly, like how many people are still playing it? I didn't.
I mean, it's not. I think like it's. I don't. I don't know how to say this like kindly.
No, just say it.
I think the kind of people who are into Levels.io, I think the kind of people who are into Levels.io are looking at games like pretty superficially.
No, I agree.
Right, but you know, it's a different, like it's probably going to be a different group of people developing like vibe coded games.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I was looking at like the Twitter tag, like the Vibe Jam, right, and seeing who were making the games. Like most of the ones that I saw were Twitter engagement folk, right? Like for example, I'm a 10x entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like I'm making my own company where, just all agents, right? So it's mostly those folks who I saw were making those. So yeah, it is a moment though.
Like, you know, I don't think it's like a very good game, but there are things about it that I really like. Like, you know, he got the acceleration effects, like feeling really good on those planes, right? Like it has like, it could be a really good game. He just decided to go like the sponsorship route with it, which is good. I mean, he's made like a decent amount of money off it, so I don't even like begrudge him that. But like, you know, I wouldn't have imagined that was possible because it takes skill. It takes some amount of skill to actually build a game that's at least that good.
Yeah. Like a lot of people I talked to also mentioned that the only way he could have done that, like there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, right? Like it's not really vibe coded because he's actually a developer has been doing it for a while, right? And so it does take a lot of skill to make like a multiplayer game. Yeah. But I don't think it's the Hearthstone one, right? Because I don't see game developers embracing vibe coding yet.
Yeah, I do. If you watch Jonathan Blow or like those guys,
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
they're like dead against it.
I know. Yeah, that's also the challenge we're facing up against, right? Like similar to the one with Unity, where people didn't want to embrace it.
I mean, Jonathan Blow also has not embraced any game engine that he didn't build. So I mean, they're like,
Yeah. Thank you, Holly.
Bye, Holly.